Hello everyone and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 build video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, as well as chucking a little click on the old alarm bell in the bottom right hand corner. I hope you're well. It's been a bit since I've done a build. As you know, I've been doing a little bit of World of Warcraft, and I know that probably some of you, that makes you sad, that makes you happy, I don't know. I'm just doing a bunch of different games, but Guild Wars 2 is still my baby. Okay, I'm always going to be doing Guild Wars 2 stuff. Those of you that have asked, I have not quit Guild Wars 2. I will never quit Guild Wars 2, I don't think. It's just too damn good. Combat wise, I'm just loving it, as I always have and always will. So, you're not getting rid of me that easily, don't worry. What we're doing today is we're going through our old Flamethrower build and kind of just tuning it up a little bit. Now, as you remember, that video now has about 5,000 views and it's going up all the time because it's pretty good. But at the moment as well, because there's been such a big nerf to grenades on Holosmith and people are still saying it's fine, it's still ridiculous, it's not as good as it was. And because of that reason as well, also there are other builds which I would say are fairly cheesy as well in comparison. Things like, you know, Soul Beast and things like now Condi Thief and Guardian, like the symbol in italics or an inverted whatever, the symbol monkey build or whatever you want to call it. It's just like there are a lot of very easy builds to play right now, and you can do a lot with them. Revenant is still very strong, you know, tons of stuff is very strong. Not seeing as much Firebrand as we used to. And to be honest, this makes me think, you know what? I was like, have a look through the traits. NG now, like Flamethrower is just really good still. I actually used that build with let's just have a look through the things, shall we? Let's have a look through the things. What did I use before? It was actually the Bulwark Gyro and I believe the Purge Gyro. Still options, but when you're using it with Flamethrower, unfortunately, you don't really have much of a stun break going down. So I was using originally, I think I changed it to like Blast Gyro to try and get something out there as well. The thing is with this build is that you're going for elixirs. Now elixirs still very strong, still very good. Whereas at the HGH trait, obviously they changed this a long time ago. Increases the duration and obviously reduces recharge. You do get your break stun, of course, as well. And there is a lot of conditions coming out. There's Condition Necro, there's Scourge. I was against a very good Scourge today in PvP on stream. There's still a bunch of conditions that come out, tons of like vulnerability, everything else. And just having the Toss Elixir C as well, being able to get rid of some conditions for you and your team is very, very helpful. Now, and obviously changing those conditions to boons is good as well. What this build is about is very much about sticking in your Flamethrower. The reason is because you get might and you get stability. Now, when you go for Scrapper as well, you might be saying, why are you going for Scrapper? The reason you're going for Scrapper is that there's several reasons. You can gain quickness when you gain might at or above the health threshold. As we've seen, we get might here when you're just sticking in that Juggernaut trait. Obviously, in the Firearms line, you're able to get might, you're able to get stability. Getting a lot of might from our elixirs as well, of course, as we get 3 stacks of might right there. Okay, then we go over to object in motion, deal increased damage while you have stability, swiftness or super speed. We're getting stability, permanent stability from Juggernaut. Okay, you're seeing a little bit of what's going on here. Okay, so you gain quickness when you gain might at or above the threshold. That is a 10-second cooldown in your trait line. That's like, the quickness uptime is kind of crazy. I expect them to nerf this. They're likely to nerf this before they nerf anything else in the game because that's just the way it goes sometimes. It is a very, very strong source of, very strong source of stabilities, okay? Because it's just crazy. But the thing is, you have to use Flamethrower. So then you're stuck. Okay, that is pretty much your main weapon. You go into hammer, you're pretty much using that for defense. You know, using the wall potentially for necros if they're going into lich, trying to get those projectiles away from you. Using your stun, using your block. You might use that first actually to put on vulnerability, then go into a flamethrower. But you want to be going into flamethrower quite early because you want to be building up those stacks. Now maximum might stacks I think is about 7, 8, 9, something like that. See, I'm at 7 there. We go to 8. Obviously, I'm doing damage. There's the quickness. It just hits 9 stacks. Obviously, when you're chucking out might, in terms of your elixirs, that's going to go up. So even like, you know, you go for a heal, you go for that, you go for this, you're able to get a ton of might stacks out and maintain it for a little bit of time and chuck out your heal. You do that, you do this. Go for all your turbo skills, you get that might right up to about 24 or so, and sticks to about 20, and it builds up a nice amount of burst in terms of the amount of damage you're doing with your might stacking. You're seeing that quickness as well popping up quite consistently, albeit like every 10 seconds or so. Don't forget that you need to get, what is the stack here? There you go, gain quickness when you gain might at or above the threshold. Quickness grants bonus power. The stack threshold is 10, so you're going to need to get that might threshold up over like every 10 seconds. If you can remember to do that, you know, even just throwing out Toss Elixir H, you get that every 20 seconds, right? You can probably stick that out every 20 seconds, just off cooldown when you're in fights. It's worth it. It's going to be giving you 3 stacks of might, which will hit you over 10. Well, which will hit you over 10, so you can actually get that quickness right back. So here we go, and you might actually even tick over it every so often. That boom, quickness, and you get obviously the buffs coming out from that as well. Protection, regen, vigor, be good in the fight. Okay, so that's what you want to be doing when you're in fights. You want to be using one of these elixirs, and you've got Toss Elixir U, which is going to give you super speed as well, which is going to help with object in motion. You are going to still have stability ticking over and over and over. Problem is when you've got that stability and you versus a necro, if they corrupt it, they turn it into a condition, then you're going to be feared. That's the only problem. But that doesn't happen very often because people don't corrupt very well, and that's another video about skill level of people in PvP. So you're probably going to be fine. Let's go over the rest of the build though. But essentially that's what you want to be doing. You want to be getting your might sticks over 10, especially when you know you're going to need that quickness, and that's going to be pumping out a ton more damage for you from your flamethrower. Obviously the main ability is the first one. You'll be able to, you know, blast as well to get over 10 stacks. You can put a blast in a fire field, of course, and this can happen through your flamethrower. So you can put down napalm, for example, and then you can blast it, of course, with your second ability. It's pretty much the only blast you really have. And that's going to help you get over 10 stacks as well. And that's quickness is going to come out. I'll just show you again. But don't forget, there's a lot of utility for flamethrower as well. You've got things like air blasts, which give you a good knockback, and that's on 5 targets. Don't forget. So using that to help you just make sure, you know, you can survive a little bit more, take people out and knock them over, knock them out of areas, knock people off of players going for spikes to finish like allies. If people are trying to res, you can use that to knock people away. It's got some great utility, and also it's got that big old blind as well, which is very good, and it is on 5 targets, so everyone on the enemy team should get blinded unless, you know, they've got ways to avoid that. And yeah, so there is a lot of utility with flamethrower, to be fair. Quickly look in the build. Alchemy never changes, hardly ever. This maybe switches over into invigorating speed at different times, depending, you know, there's been various builds. I like maybe a Holosmith back in the day with the tools and everything else. Protection, the protection Holosmith build, I believe, changed that out for a little bit. Loads of variation. This Elixir E, game barrier, and protection, this is just never going to change. Again, if you're new to the channel and everything else as well, the reason I don't explain this much is because it hardly ever changes, and there's so many videos where I explained it, but I will go for it again. And actually, some of the time you will be going over the threshold of 10 stacks of might because of some of the stuff that is just naturally within these trait lines. Things like There we go. Lesser elixir C. Quaff and elixir converting conditions into boons when you got 3 conditions on you. So you might even get that 10 stack. So you know when you hit that threshold, you don't need to pop off one of these elixirs. So you may be just in a fight and you're like, okay, I'm probably going to get some might right now so I can get that quickness. I don't have to use this and I can use it again in about 10-15 seconds time when I need to get that might back up to generate that quickness to get more damage off on my target. And don't forget, skills and actions are faster, so you're able to just pump out a lot more damage. You know, that's what quickness is. It's good. It's gonna help you. It's gonna just throwing out some more damage. It's just basic. All of this stuff you can look up boons and everything else for more information. If you don't feel I'm explaining that very well on the Guild Wars 2 wiki, or just Google it. I'm doing really well with this build video, aren't I? Again, you know, similar here. Drink an elixir E when you're struck below the health threshold, you get protection. Lovely, lovely. Heal yourself when you grant yourself a boon, which happens very, very often because you've got Flamethrower and you're reapplying stacks, you're reapplying different boons to you. You know, if you haven't got stability and you suddenly jump into Flamethrower, you're going to be giving yourself some healing because you're getting a couple of boons there. Ta-da! Lovely. Okay. Now we go over to Firearms. Now this is where it's going to be giving you're going to be giving yourself a ton of extra damage. So critical hits have a chance to cause bleeding. Doesn't really matter. I mean, you get some bleeding on the target, extra damage. You have an increased critical hit chance against foes within the range threshold of 300. So you want to make sure you're always within 300 range. Flame Jet, just the normal auto attack from Flamethrower, is 425. So you want to be just a little bit closer than the edge of the Flamethrower range. So you want to be probably like here. It's all good. So that gives you extra critical chance of 15% increase, which is good. You want to be creating more damage. You have increased chance to critically strike against bleeding foes. Now, obviously, if you are getting the crits and you're getting the bleeds, that's where the bleeding comes in. That's the whole mechanic of this line. If you're using it in conjunction for doing damage, of course, which is what Firearms is. No scope. So critical hits on foes within the range threshold have a chance to grant Fury, and Fury grants you Ferocity. Ferocity is going to be plus 150, and you're going to be gaining 20% increase in critical chance when you have Fury. Fury is popping off a hell of a lot. Okay, let's just see how often it happens. It's cooldown 8 seconds. It's 4 seconds of Fury as well. We want to be moving on to another target, we're killing things too quick. This is the thing, it's like permanent might, stability, and Fury, and quickness. It, like, you know, and you can see it here, and I'm just slacking by not even going to different targets. It's pretty often, to be fair. And don't forget, you want to be pumping out that might at different times, and the super speed and everything else. And you're obviously going to be using your elixirs during the battle anyway, most of the time. Heals, you know, you're going to be using that elixir U right there to gain yourself some stability. Also, just to break stun, you know. And don't forget, elixir C is what you're going to be using to remove those conditions. That's one of the weaknesses of this build. Removing conditions is a problem. So you need to be killing, so that doesn't happen. So people don't put conditions on you too much. You're going to have to think about getting out of fights, blocking damage with your hammer, stunning before people are able to get out a lot of their condition burst, because unfortunately in PvP, condition burst is a real thing and is still a really big problem in the game. And because we know balance is still quite poor in terms of the amount of time that takes to get out, they haven't changed their cadence or anything. It's just the way it is. It's the way of the game. That's going to be a future video. I'll talk about that kind of thing. And it's just normal. It's just, you know, it's the way it is, and it's just something I have to accept. It's not that it's poor, it's just that it's not frequent enough, so they can't address issues correctly. They can't adjust things quickly. Anything that is broken doesn't really get fixed too fast. It gets maybe patched, and then there's just, over time, there are broken builds that just come out. It's too much, and in the end they just need a complete balance patch to just fix the previous balance patch, and that's kind of how it feels. It goes on. It's not a just a PvP only game, so that's one of the reasons why this doesn't occur. It does affect other stuff that goes on. There is a split obviously in balance, but at the end of the day there's a lot of balance changes and there is one balanced team. So issues, yes. Learn to accept it, yes. Good or bad, you know, I'm just in the middle. What can you do about it? It's an MMORPG. That's what you expect. It happens in every other MMORPG. Why would it be any different? There's my gripes. Anyway, bleeding you can inflict increased duration. Yeah. And again, you know, Juggernaut is what we explained before. So you gain might and stability while wielding a flamethrower. Might applied to you gains increased duration. So don't forget you get the additional duration, which helps build up stacks, which coordinates with the rest, which synergizes well with the rest of the build, of course. So Scrapper, there you go. And don't forget, function gyro, really still an amazing utility for you to even just offer a little bit of support. You can play side nodes on this. You can definitely 1v1. You can definitely play in a team fight as well. Both roles are fine for this build, in my opinion. Really, side noding wise, he's got a knockback. You can get some CC off point. You can knock him off the point with Elixir X as well, of course. It's got good area damage. You know, if one of the opponents is trying to go for a res, you lay down that flamethrower damage. If you choose not to blast them off, you're probably going to kill him. You're going to at least pressure him off just naturally by just hitting one. It's a pretty easy build to play, but there are big problems that you have to overcome in terms of things like condition damage on you and whatnot as well. So, mass momentum gain might while you have stability. Your function gyro applies stability to to allies when cast. So that's pretty useful. I mean, a little bit of stability. Why is that going to help? Oh, other reasons. You know, you're able to do increased damage. So you could even pop it off if you feel like you need to do some damage or you need some stability for you and your team for a moment. You're going for a stomp. You need some extra stability. That's not going to help you for very long. I know that. But it's available. Using a heal skill grants super speed in the radius around you. Using a heal skill associated tool belt skill grants you personal super speed. Again, increased damage as well. Do increased damage while you have stability, swiftness, or super speed. Boom. Very good. Okay. Don't forget, that's the tool belt for your heal skill. All these little things come into play with this build. It's not just a simple, it's the flamethrower and it's powerful because of stability and blah blah blah. There's loads of other things which synergize extremely well in this build, especially with elixirs as well, I feel. A percentage of the strike damage you deal is converted into barrier. Your vitality is reduced. That's because your barrier is quite strong in this build. And then applied force. Again, quickness when you gain might at or above the threshold. So don't forget, you get that quickness at 10 plus stacks of might, which happens very often using elixirs and just literally from some of the passive play that comes out through the traits in this build. In terms of everything else, don't forget this is your condition removal, big condition removal. Don't waste this. If you have a couple of conditions and you're in trouble, toss elixir C is going to help you a lot more than this is, because this is going to be your big condition removal. Don't forget that. But also don't forget that it's converting them into boons as well. Elixir X is going to be important for different purposes. It's mainly for CC. You can do a ton of damage as well in Tornado, and also just using the first ability on Rampage, obviously, and using this for CC as well as just getting away, building up your HP a little bit more so you can be a bit more defensive. I use it a lot of the time to get out of trouble, and also just to cleave on the point and just cause a lot of interrupts on opponents. You know, if they're going for a res, if they're trying to go for a spike on an ally, you know, I use that to CC them off, especially if I know if they've obviously got no stability. It's a big playmaker. It's a really good one. Don't forget as well, you know, you've got some defense here in terms against Lich Form, like I said, and projectile base classes. There's a lot of them out there. Ranger, of course, you know, Necro, like I said, Renegade, and Thief, everything else on that side of things. Don't forget as well, Elixir H is your heal, because, you know, you're able to get a lot more accessibility to things like, you know, your tool belt and everything else, as well as just, you know, having elixirs. You could go for the turret. At the end of the day, turret is still awesome, but in this build of elixirs, if you're going to go HGH, elixir H is just going to be better. It's giving you more boons. Okay, it's giving you the might. It's helping you build up that might again above the threshold of 10. It's giving you the swiftness. It's giving you the regen. It's giving you the super speed. It's all about synergy. If you prefer to use turret because you want an extra condition removal and whatnot, then that's absolutely fine as well. Up to you. You can also use on here, you could possibly use mortar kit if you want to get a little bit more of a combo field going up. You could also use sneak gyro as well if you want, feel like you're more of a roamer and you want to get around the map, be a little bit more undetected. You want to use that to get in and out of fights. You want to use it more coordination with your teammates. That's absolutely fine as well. You want to get safe stomps maybe using that stuff, absolutely fine. If you want to switch one of these for Elixir S, you could do that as well. You could switch this for Elixir S, but remember, you will have almost next to nothing in terms of condition removal other than the things that are in your traits and the passive play that will be coming out that you don't have any control over. So Elixir C for me at the moment is probably the best thing to go for. In terms of the rest of the build though, I'm going for Demolisher because at the moment there's a lot of power. This can change depending on what your verse is. This could go to this could go to Marauder if you want it to. But we need that precision in there and that ferocity. Don't forget, precision does increase your critical chance. And the ferocity is obviously your critical damage. So we need to try and keep that up as much as possible because that's what you're doing damage. You could even go to Paladin if you want. It does remove that critical damage, but it does give you a bit more survivability in the field of toughness and health. For vitality as well, of course. So it's really depending what you're up against. If you feel a little bit weak, you're trying to build out for the first time, you know, maybe Paladin will be a little bit better for you to survive and to get used to the build if you're playing an unranked. But if you're playing ranked, you want to try and head over to Demolisher, maybe even over to Zerker in the end if you're feeling really confident. Obviously the health doesn't change between Demolisher and Berserker, but there are some really powerful strong builds right now out there. But if you're feeling you're going against more condition oriented builds, maybe it could be Brave. Try Berserker out if you want. Rune of Traveler, you've probably realized that in this build there is not a lot of access to swiftness other than through the traits and through some of your use of, obviously, the elixirs and whatnot. If you heal, you're able to gain some swiftness. You're able to gain some swiftness elsewhere, of course, as well. Super speed and whatnot. But you don't want to be doing that all the time, so you're gonna need some kind of movement speed around the map. At the moment, I have gone for Traveler Rune, just because it adds to your movement speed. Just passive, normal movement speed, plus 5% condition duration, doesn't really matter. Other than maybe vulnerability and a bit of bleeding to help your crits coming out. It does give you extra boon duration though, which is really, really handy, obviously, increasing those might stacks through the duration. So you're of your might, so you're able to increase those stacks quicker. Easier, sorry, not quicker. And quicker, I guess. Whatever. And you get stat boost as well. So you could, if you are happy with always just making, you know, to gain swiftness in other ways, obviously I just showed you. You can use the 5th skill on your hammer, obviously, use the blast and get area swiftness that way. It gives you, what, like 11 seconds or so, which could be fine. And when you're in the fight, you'll gain that passive kind of swiftness, and everything else is from your own build as well as from other people. So to get to other places, and you should be okay. It's up to you. I'm happy with Traveler at the moment. I've tried things like air as well, which has been quite nice. It extends the swiftness duration, gives me a bit of an extra damage as well. That's up to you. That's your own choice. In terms of just chucking some sigils on, Sigil of Energy, obviously giving me more endurance. So in combat, when I swap from my Flamethrower to my hammer, but you don't swap that much. So weapon swap sigils, not the greatest. And it could be on hit, could be better. still playing around with this, so on hit could be better, like I said, but I do pop into my hammer a lot for defensive reasons, so that's where I need it. I need the endurance then, because I've dodged and I need more defense. And obviously when you swap while in combat, it inflicts 5 stacks of vulnerability. So if you do want to get a ton of extra vulnerability on your target, switching to your hammer, from your hammer to your flamethrower, whichever, is going to be a benefit. Again, could be better to go for on hit, but you know, those on swap utilities are very, very useful and helpful, especially the energy, of course, which we've had forever. Otherwise, it's late for me. It's like 1:30 a.m. ish. This build is going on Patreon a lot, well, not a lot earlier, a couple of days earlier. So if you want to see these builds a lot earlier, you can check out that. You can just support me and the stream. Let me know what you think about this build. If you enjoy it, if you want to see some more random engineer builds, if engineer is the main thing you would like seeing from me, all of this feedback is good. If there is anything in Guild Wars 2 you would like me to cover, let me know. Show me the things. I want to do more stuff. And some feedback from you guys is always useful, always helpful. Also, my Angie, she looks great. She's still bald. The hair is a lie. I will see you next time. Like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon, check out all the things. Come and watch the stream as well. Podcast for Guild Wars 2 is still going strong. Episode coming out soon. I'll see you soon. So many soons. Bye-bye for now. I'm gonna shut up. Bye. And thanks for watching.